I found the lump when I was 31. I was terrified. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and that was March of '95.
Elisa Gilbert is one of more than 2.5 million Native Americans living in the United States today. When she was diagnosed with cancer, she was alone, and at times her journal was her only comfort. Elisa is part of a community that did not talk about cancer. In fact, many Native languages do not even have a word for cancer.
I was really scared because I didn't know that much about cancer, and I didn't know that much about, the whole breast cancer treatment.
A turning point came when she went to New Mexico to participate in a traditional Native American healing ceremony with her family and friends. She returned home to the Pacific Northwest with a new perspective and the strength to finish her treatment.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to make it. I'm going to survive this. I'm going to beat this. And I, became incredibly determined to do something about the whole breast cancer issue.
Elisa saw an opportunity to have her story change the way cancer was addressed in Native communities. She started with what she knew best. She organized an art exhibit called Inner Visions that showcased the paintings of over 30 breast cancer survivors from across the country. Elisa then went on to share her story with thousands of people struggling with cancer. With each new outreach project, Elisa has sent a vital message about Native American cancer survivorship.
There are a lot of survivors out there, and a diagnosis of breast cancer does not mean a death sentence.
In 2003, with the help of the LAF, she founded the National Office of Native Cancer Survivorship. Elisa has also convened a conference of more than 500 Native cancer survivors who had never talked about their cancer experiences before. Her continuous involvement with these and other nonprofit organizations and governmental agencies has provided a voice for Native American cancer survivors, a population that is often underrepresented in this country. But perhaps the best example of survivorship is her family. After surviving cancer, she married and had 2 sons despite all her treatment. Elisa's voice has raised awareness to the unique and important needs of thousands of Native American cancer survivors.
You can get through this.
In 1994, Susan Rafte was young and healthy. Living in Houston with her husband, she became pregnant, and that's when she first discovered a lump in her breast.
I called my doctor and went to him presenting with this lump, and he said, oh, that's just a cyst, nothing to worry about.
Susan gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, Marika, and breastfed her for 8 months. She questioned the doctor's diagnosis again and again until he finally scheduled a biopsy.
As soon as she stuck that needle in, I looked down at the hypodermic and I could see no fluid coming out. All of a sudden, all the lights started, flashing red, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to lose my breast.
The diagnosis was devastating. Stage 3 breast cancer. To make matters worse, Susan needed to help her husband with his own battle against testicular cancer at the same time. Susan and her sister Jane were living in different states, but when cancer came into the picture, Jane traveled constantly to be with Susan during treatment. But she wanted to do more than just care. The sisters' lifelong love of dance inspired Jane to start the Pink Ribbons Project, Dancers in Motion Against Breast Cancer. The group organized performances and began raising money to fight cancer, a disease that was not yet finished with their family.
They pretty much say, you're done, and you have an 85% chance of staying cancer-free for 10 years. And unfortunately, I kept falling in the short side of the statistics.
As a last resort, Susan underwent an experimental bone marrow transplant that brought her to the brink of death. The doctors only gave her a 40% chance of surviving the procedure, and her chances of beating cancer were slim. Against all odds, she survived. Even at her lowest point, Susan rallied her friends and family in support of the Pink Ribbons Project. She also co-founded the Pink Ribbon Volunteers at MD Anderson's Breast Center and has mentored hundreds of recently diagnosed breast cancer survivors.
I knew you.
They are looking for somebody with hair, somebody who has a smile on their face, and then they went through cancer. They did all this. Oh, how cool. You know, there is hope.
Susan serves as an inspiration to breast cancer survivors all over the country who have seen her story in newspapers, magazines, and on TV. She has survived with grace, dignity, faith, and tireless optimism.
My hope for the future is that my daughter won't even have to think about this. She's 9.5 now, and I hope before she turns 20, there's a cure to this disease.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention was established as a federal agency in 1946 to ensure the good health of Americans. The CDC has successfully tackled many diseases throughout the 20th century, such as influenza and tuberculosis. Under the leadership of Dr. Julie Gerberding, Dr. Jim Marks, and Dr. Nancy Lee, the CDC has recently turned their attention to cancer survivorship as an area for public health intervention. They are champions for all cancer survivors by embracing survivorship as a top priority at a national level. The CDC's comprehensive cancer control programs outline strategies for a coordinated public health approach and emphasize survivorship as an important issue. The CDC also promotes public health through strong partnerships with organizations such as the Lance Armstrong Foundation. Together, the CDC and the LAF are focusing on strategies to improve cancer survivorship among underserved populations. In addition, the CDC and LAF have just released the National Action Plan for Cancer Survivorship. This action plan identifies survivors' needs and proposes strategies to address those needs. The CDC, LAF, and state comprehensive cancer control groups will use this action plan to ensure that all survivors have optimal quality of life. The LAF and survivors across the nation salute the pioneering efforts of the CDC for their leadership, dedication, and commitment to cancer survivorship.